The first seasonal anime we ever watched was Eromanga Sensei, or so we assumed. But since having thought it over, I'm pretty sure it's actually Azeta the Last Witch, since that coincided with our finding out that Crunchyroll, the website, existed. Izetta was the first seasonal that really caught our interest, because we were horny, our dead boy self probably thought, but it checks out now with the sort of people we've become, i.e., trauma-screwed plural system of trans girls and confuzzled weirdos who appreciate beautiful women and girls in anime. We never finished watching Izetta. As we write this script, we plan to, for the sake of evaluating its quality properly, but we remember it having some very pretty girls. And also, you know, it's fine to feel a little horny for pretty girls in anime. That's a normal part of being a teenager for a lot of people, and a normal part of being an anime fan for a lot of people, but not everyone. I'm not horny for the beautiful girls. That's Joyce's job now, so it's not necessarily normal for me. I appreciate the beautiful girls for purely aesthetic purposes, you know. As we were 17, the age that Joyce believes she still is even now, and didn't have any way to pay for Crunchyroll, we relied on the episodes becoming available for freemium users a week after, and after watching the first episode, we immediately Googled it, naturally seeking out people who'd also watched it. Since it was a new anime, there obviously weren't likely to be many hits on it, but the R-anime discussion threads were hot, new, and generally where all the interest on this hot, new, seasonal anime was most obviously centralized. And the comment we remember most clearly was this one. Today, I watched a witch fly a gun to save a princess from Nazis. I love anime. And, well, it's hard for us to be certain whatever the hell our dead, confused, fucked up teenage boy self was thinking back then. I think it's not an unfair guess to suppose he thought something along the lines of, oh yeah, I love anime too. And that, or someplace between that, and Haruhi Suzumiya, Persona 5, Eromanga Sensei, Death Note, and our traumatic childhood bullshit was the beginning of our journey into anime, and into madness. 6 years of disillusionment, estrangement, identity crises, all leading to the death of that boy that gave rise to the girl that created the joystick system. Sounds exciting, I guess, when I put it that way, but I promise you didn't miss much. Just to restate, in case you've missed things somewhere, I'm Audrey of the joystick system. I'm one of around 6 people sharing this accursed boy corpse with Joyce, my older little sister and creator, because plurality or identity disorder or whatever. I can't say we're not pretty disordered, but who fucking isn't? Anyway, I'm just here to talk about the point that the past 6 years have led us to when it comes to anime particularly. Maybe partially to recommend media to you that you're probably never gonna get around to watching. Maybe partially to complain. I guess maybe both. We'll try to stick to the anime stuff, though. The melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya sticks in our mind years after having seen it, because its ethos is really easy to empathize with. Haruhi is a disillusioned teenager who's realized that she's not a special snowflake, and it kills her because, as much as people will like to insist it's a signifier of a strong character, of humility and all that, to accept that fact and move on, and it may be, but it's still pretty existentially horrifying. Even still, Haruhi does her best to be as exceptional as she can. She's consistently characterized as getting good grades, which is probably why her antics get her at most a slap on the wrist a lot of the time. Haruhi is talented, physically gifted, ruthlessly competitive, and respected by her teachers, her classmates, and her family, in spite of her eccentricities and difficult personality. Yet she's unsatisfied, done all she can to be the most exciting, best person, the best at everything she does, but she's bored. The resultant melancholy eats at her soul, and she wishes for her days to become something more, but what more is there?
The SOS Brigade's mission is to find aliens, time travelers, and espers and hang out with them.
I don't know if I completely agree with the in-universe choices of the characters in this story. The Sigh of Haruhi, in particular, makes a strong case that perhaps Haruhi should know that she's something approximating a minor deity. Perhaps she should know, so that she's aware her wild fantasies could very well materialize as a photon laser and fry Kion's brain. Perhaps she should know, so that she's aware she has the power to end and recreate the world, that she's aware that she should handle that power responsibly, though that rationale assumes that she doesn't want to kill Kion or destroy the world. There's probably at least some days when she does, and that's when you start reading The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya as a Lovecraftian horror story. But who cares? Maybe it's a plot hole. Maybe it's just the characters being in a difficult situation. That observation is kind of missing the larger point made by the text as to why the time traveler, Esper, and android that have joined Haruhi's brigade under the cover of students can't tell her straight that she has already achieved her goal. She'd be excited, certainly, for a short time, but then she'd realize there's nothing left now. Haruhi has excelled at everything she possibly can, and the only thing left to her was to excel at the impossible, and if the impossible becomes possible, well, what's left then? What's left for her to do? To chase? To seek? The world's mysteries are all before her, and not only that, but she's a god among gods, an anomaly among anomalies, and knowing that would kill her again. Or in other words, she'd burn out. There really is nothing like The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya to us. We've seen a lot of anime since watching it, but recently Joyce and I watched it again with another friendly plural system, and it felt good. Really good. It's probably one of our top 5 anime if we were to make a coherent ranking, which we're not. There's really nothing else like it. None among KyoAni's OVA, none among its contemporaries, none among other slice-of-life or science fantasy anime, then or now. It's beautiful, it's sublime, it's exciting in small doses, it's boring when it needs to be, it's angsty without being edgy, existential without being misanthropic, peak fiction. Probably contributed to a significant percentage of our poor life choices. Don't think I can give enough credit to it with words alone. Haruhi is such a wonderfully relatable character with all of her teenage angst and depressions and sadnesses, but also she crosses some very serious lines in the course of her pursuits as a highly emotional adolescent seeking meaning in her life. That meant a lot to us as a highly emotional adolescent seeking meaning in our life, to which end we also crossed a lot of very serious lines. It still does mean a lot to us that Haruhi is allowed to be such a believably flawed teenage character who is so callous and lacks social awareness and care for others and their boundaries, but that's never used to demean her or paint her as a psychopath or anything. It's used to paint her as a person, and that's beautiful. Kion, the nameless male, POVMC, has a gazillion times more personality than most named male POV MCs in anime. The Disappearance film, after all, is nearly entirely about his and Yuki's shared internal conflict over their lives, and it's really a testament to his characterization that he's able to carry most of that story, and that this scene in particular works as well as it does.
Quiz time is over. Time to answer the question. Don't you think Haruhi and all the weird things she made happen were just a little bit fun? Spit it out!
Rewatching Haruhi made us think. Oh yeah. This is why we like anime. If we had not seen Haruhi, if all we'd seen for our gateway shows was Death Note or Cowboy Bebop and, I don't know, My Hero Academia, we probably still wouldn't be watching anime all that much. Shows like those are the sort of things you show to normie friends. If you want to get into anime, but you don't want to show them anything too crazy, so you show them the stuff that's most like the shows that they already watch. The kind of shows that Netflix wants live-action renditions of to try and trick Crunchyroll subscribers into watching Stranger Things. But Haruhi was the anime that showed us what anime could do that no popular media originating from the culture of our region was able to do. If we had not seen Haruhi, I think it's fairly certain that this YouTube channel wouldn't exist, at least not in its present form. We'd probably still like anime, but we wouldn't care this much. I guess to summarize, Haruhi was the first anime that made us want to analyze anime. One of the first scripts that Joyce seriously attempted about 2 years before that first video on Fulikuli was on Haruhi. She dropped it, of course, because it was incoherent and it would have probably been bad, but still, yeah. If you haven't figured it out, the point of this video is that we're tired. We're not doing well. We're sick of trying to force ourselves to write good analysis, which is why our last video was so much more slapdashed than anything else we've made before. We're tired of weighing ourselves with the responsibility to deliver the best possible work to only 3,000 people. We're tired of how social media makes everything and everyone out to be the most important thing ever, when the truth is that no one cares what any of us say, and it's all just pointless and stupid and tiring, and all this channel has really enabled us to do is invent an excuse to be mentally ill hikikomori dumbasses who can't get over our trauma, and now our trauma's caught up with us. This trap has ensnared us, and we're so fucking tired. Hello, this is Joyce. Wonder Egg Priority is a bad anime, actually. The thing that was really wrong with it was that it was bad. The thing that was also wrong with it was that it was made by underpaid and overworked animators and exploitation of online labor from overseas under pressure from an abusive entertainment industry machine. Now, that's a thing wrong with every anime. That's a thing wrong with capitalism. That's a thing wrong with everything in the whole entire world because of capitalism, but also Wonder Egg Priority is just bad. Like, the thing that a lot of people have pointed out about Wonder Egg Priority is that, well, the animation was being made in real time on a weekly basis. The script was done. The script was always going to be like this. This horrible ending was always there, and it was always going to be horrible. But you all knew that. We didn't know, or what you didn't know, was that Wonder Egg Priority turned out to be the chronicle of our death. Or Joyce's death, I should say. Integrated Joyce's death. Setting of our expiration date. But, you know, it can also be traced back to our first time existing, and all the abuse we suffered in our family life. But for now, it's being traced here. We were going to make a video essay about Wonder Egg Priority, but then someone actually died and we didn't want to anymore. And that just kind of sucked. So we didn't make any more videos for a while after that, I think. I can't remember what we did then. But what I remember after that is that the member of our polycule, who later turned out to be a, quote, literal yandere, killed us figuratively. And the member of our polycule who made us wonder if we were actually monogamous broke our heart. And the day after, the Wonder Egg Priority special was airing. The very day of. We were at the airport, waiting for our flight back, after a long day of feeling dead and answering chats from many Discord people justifiably concerned about our well-being at the time. A Discord group we were in had a sync-play group chat opened for it, so Integrated Joyce went in, said hello, and sat down for it. our flight wasn't for a couple of hours or so. So we had time for the whole 1 hour thing. Of course, the Wonder Egg Priority Special, as is now widely, infamously known, turned out to be 50% fucking recap. And we sat with the sync play watch for all 20-odd minutes of it. All the reliving of all the trauma and beauty and horror up to this point. And then sat for the rest of the 20 minutes. And it fucking sucked. We were confused as hell. His hand wasn't animated properly. This conversation made no sense, and generally fucking sucked. We don't even remember coherently how it ended, just that I guess they narrated the ending, and how the girl who died was lying about her abuse and killed herself for no reason, apparently. And that was it. That was the end. Anyway, the moral of this story is don't be hyped for any seasonals. Just don't. Just don't bother. We say that. We keep watching seasonals anyway. That does seem to sum of Wonder Egg, more or less. Returning to continue writing this a while later, I remember where our point was. We collectively remember Haruhi. We collectively remember Hibiki Euphonium, remember Madoka, remember School Live, remember Yorimoi, remember so many things we saw that we at the time thought, this is why anime is worth watching. We just as well saw so many things that were bad, that proved boring, that disappointed us in one way or another. Hell, Hibiki Euphonium is one of those things. It's both the best anime of all time, and one of the worst at the same time to us. Mostly because of the second season. And mostly because so much of the second season is truly so good. But it also has some of the worst writing we've ever seen. The writing of Reina Kosaka, specifically, bad enough to dysphorize a local Reina Kosaka fictive. We should know. We know one of those. And UFO was the flagship example for us. I'm not just bringing that up as a throwaway. Hibiki Euphonium is, in many ways, both the anime that made us want to become an anime analysis YouTuber, and the anime that made us want to stop watching anime. We saw the Pedantic Romantics video on Hibiki Euphonium, and it was the reason we patroned them. The reason we joined their Discord server, which was full of trans people, and those people apparently fucking hated the past Joyce, the 2018 Joyce who was just a bit too headstrong, a bit too ready to defend herself, the Joyce who didn't know she was Joyce yet, the Joyce who didn't know that part of her was me yet, that I was a someone else, and maybe I was at least part of all that back then. Those memories are my memories too. Those memories are what made me, what made her, what killed us for the first time, or perhaps the second time. Our life has only been a series of deaths, a series of confusions, a series of abandonments, disappointments, losses of dreams, a series of high-strung emotions over a whole server of people who ostensibly also liked UFO, all saying it was bad because it wasn't quite queer enough. And, you know, they're right. It isn't. But nothing is, and maybe not everything should be, and maybe everything also should be. I don't fucking know. But the thing that kind of began to slowly kill us more and more was seeing so many people in so many queer spaces with so much vitriol to spill over how they were mad that the music girls didn't kiss. Well, the thing they'd been missing was, I don't know, like, the music girls didn't need to fucking kiss in order to make us gay. The fact that UFO imbued in us, a formerly ostensibly straight cis guy, the capacity to say, this shit isn't gay enough. This shit doesn't have enough girls kissing in it, enough of us in it, when it made us us. Perhaps that's the gayest fucking thing about it. I don't know, it's one thing to criticize a piece of media. It's fair to say that a piece of media is bad. We've done that. We're not saying you shouldn't do that. You should keep criticizing media how you like, irrespective of how we or anyone else happen to feel. But also, is it really so wrong for us to say that when people on the internet say that UFO isn't gay enough, problematic for not being gay enough, when it's part of the thing that made us us, the broad, loaded insinuation that we're wrong, that we're problem queers for liking this wrongly queer series that does queer wrong, that feels less like a criticism and more like a fucking assassination. We don't want to call out anyone specific here, but also just, I don't know. Maybe you know who you are, maybe you don't, maybe you're not, but it's just, there are some really, really toxic people in trans Twitter communities who seem to make a hobby of being fucking to people who like the wrongly problematic things or not liking the correct things, and we're not going to go seeking out those specific people, both because we ought to leave them alone and let them live their lives, because that's what we'd want from them, but also because we're sure they're wonderful people away from Twitter. Twitter, the site that famously brings out the worst in people, but like, things like this. Anime that develops in wrong directions, that does queerness wrong, that gets people's hopes up that they'll finally have the anime that's the proper communist queer manifesto in their perfect anime form, ignoring that that anime already exists and it's called fucking Madoka. Not that that matters at all. And things like this. Anime like Dragon Maid, like Euphonium, like Wonder Egg Priority. Those shows are all flawed, but despite those flaws, it can bring out the best in our communities. Some really honest, vulnerable, and mature conversations happen from these shows in spite of their flaws, in spite of what they are, and yet it can also bring out the fucking worst, and it's just so just. All I'm saying is don't fucking use Twitter. We don't really use it anymore ourselves, at least, not in its intended manner. We've purged all the people we don't desire to see. We use browser extensions to clean up the timeline. The site we're looking at with all that isn't really the same fucking website anymore. I don't know that we'd recommend that at all. Like, it worked for us, but it's too much damn trouble. Just don't use Twitter. And you know, it's just anime. Gosh grief, what the fuck was that one thread? That one thread saying that people refusing to recognize Super Cub as the best anime of all time or whatever is an atrocity that proves humanity is doomed? It's just fucking anime. But it's also not just fucking anime. It is to the world at large, but to us specifically, to who we are, it's so completely very different. If it didn't matter to us, we wouldn't be talking about it so much. Moments like the time that Kumiko ran through the streets shouting and crying, that time that we were crying with her. That time that we too wished to improve at a time in our life when we were feeling hopeless, alone, desperate to change who we were, desperate to die, desperate to live, and these girls just screaming their souls so viscerally in voice and song that made us desperate to try. Moments like that matter to us, even if we failed, even if we can't fully convey what that was like. Even if we have to acknowledge that UFO isn't perfect and the feelings of other queer people who feel betrayed by it, those feelings are valid too. But neither of our feelings override each other. Everyone's trying to say they're right everywhere, every time online about UFO, about DDLC, about Wonder Egg, about Madoka, about everyone who has opinions about everything. And everyone's gotta believe what they gotta believe to keep themselves internally truthful to their souls, but the true truth external to all of us is neither of us are wrong. Neither of us are fucking wrong. And this is a problem with us, I guess. We don't want to feel this way about other people's feelings. We don't want others to feel that way about our feelings, but all we can do is try our best to be as honest and forthcoming about our truth and our reality and our world, and all you can do is say okay or fuck off. And that's the earnest truth of us, the earnest truth of you, and all we can say now is all this art is all beautiful and in one way or another, but all of it is so normal, all of it is so fantastic, and maybe we just don't want to know. Maybe if we were Haruhi in the dark about all that there was left in the world for us to find beautiful, we'd find it beautiful all the more. We'd find all of it beautiful. We used to see all the beauty in all of it, and we still do a bit, but it's harder now, and that's really why something that grazes the stars in our mind and then flares up and burns tragically is a notorious mess like Wonder Egg Priority. That hurts. Wonder Egg Priority also made us think. This is why we watch anime. Every week, watching Wonder Egg Priority, we were jumping out of our seat, gasping in astonishment. Yes, hell yes, hell yes, this is beautiful, this is brilliant, this is incredible, this is... And then we saw that special, that delayed disaster of a 13th episode, and we just stared blankly, eyes dead, realizing forever it was just another fucking anime. Anyway, then a year passed by like it was nothing, just fucking nothingness, and we didn't want to talk about anime anymore. We forced ourselves, we made it work, kind of, not really, but really not really. And it all just sucked. We just didn't really think we cared. We thought about our relationship to Twitter discourse, how our attention to it all sucked our desire to tell people, to be all a part of all this fucking noise. We didn't feel like it. We just wanted all of it to shut out and just disappear. Joyce often wants to disappear, but she especially so did the day that I appeared in her place. The day after our body's ostensibly 23rd birthday. The day that I actualized. The day we became a system. We just barely managed to force out a half-decent script on Magical Girl's site and had no idea what to do next. We still have no idea what to do next. What's after this? We've basically just admitted it, haven't we? We've no fucking idea anymore. This script makes no sense. It won't make sense to people who lack context, will it? We used to watch people's video essays for ideas. We don't do that much anymore. Everyone's video essays are part of the Twitter narrative. We don't want to engage people on social media, don't want to talk to our patrons on Discord, don't want to risk our audience relationships going even more sour than they already have. We don't want to respond to our comments, to post on our community board. We just occasionally tweet to ourselves and our 10 friends who are still reading our tweets about our mental illness and our favorite things as of late. Just to say, we're alive, and we like things, and we're still being us, and us is expanding. The time of the last video, we had 4 people in the system, and now we have 6 to 7, which I say because at this exact precise time that I am speaking, one of those 7 people is only half extant. Everything is weird. Everything in our brain is weird. We can't explain it. We can't bring anyone to it. We can't do it. We only know how to explain that Joyce exists, and that I, Audrey, exists, because we're the most relatively normal headmates, the ones who are definitely always mostly here in some form. Our other headmates are the Sonic tutorial robot, Nautico Sengoku, a couple of halfway formed fictives, and a half-dead Tsubahime person, and possibly all the people we're afraid of having hurt, haunting us from the void. And how do I explain what all of those words mean as the most normal fucking person in this body? I don't know, it's messy. Is anyone going to accept that this is our reality now? Some of you will. Some of you won't. Do I want to try to roll the dice on someone eventually turning on us to say we're committing one sin or another against them, or their Twitter faction of choice, for being trans wrong, being plural wrong, having wrong opinions? I don't know. And I'm not even going to get started on how YouTube is just bad. But it's bad to the point that it's just impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible for us to make this work, but there's probably not a lot else we're capable of. We need to figure out something or other in normal society, I guess, but I don't know how. We're just a bunch of generally fucked up failures, and the worst thing about all this is that you can't even really rely on others in the same boat. As much as we want to think we can all win, this site is set up such that there are always going to be losers. Hell, arguably, everyone is predestined to lose. All have already lost, but they're all pitted against each other in the meantime in this shitty website's shitty fucking system. So, well, yeah. Okay. I guess I'm done with my sharing of the mental illness rant. None of this matters. It's all just bullshit online drama that we're way too prone to being way too worked up about. So, let's talk about this season of anime in particular. We're not watching a lot. Last season, we watched most of what we recommended in the last video, except we never caught up on Love Life like we intended, but whatever. It was a little bit stacked. Kaguya was good, Demon Girl was good, Executioner had a kind of bad finale but was otherwise good, and I think that was really kind of it. This season, we're mainly watching 3 shows. Shafty Ruby, Call of the Night, and Licorice Recoil. Shafty Ruby was something we were really excited for, like a lot of people, because it had the potential to improve a lot on Ruby narratively, and so far it's delivered well enough in that regard. It introduces some cool new lore ideas, like the Nightmare Grims, that open the door to a lot more interesting narrative opportunities in its canon, adjacent, divergent, original story, and yeah, a lot. And yeah, Tao Bukata is a... So if watching anything written by him is a deal breaker for you personally, then that's totally a fair thing. And despite our excitement about this and our enjoyment of what we've seen so far, we're finding Shafty Ruby just okay. Like, it's pretty. It's certainly not unimpressive, but it is a bit pedestrian, especially for a Shaft show. A lot of staff from Salt Lily Bouquet are retained for this production, and that's good. The Salt Lily is gorgeous in a lot of places and all and stuff, and fine. We don't like Assault Lily that much. Narratively underwhelming show that we really should like way more than we do, considering how gay it is. But it's fine. It's fine. Visually, it's fine. And visually, Ruby is also fine. It would probably look a lot better, generally, if Shaft were not producing 2 entire shows this season. Yeah, 2 of those. Luminous Witches is the other one. We tried watching that, and it failed to grab us meaningfully at all. So, that's whatever. Maybe we'll try it again when it's done airing and fan subs exist for the songs. I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's the thing that's most got us about Shafty Ruby. Like Joyce said earlier, most every anime is a result of overworked and underpaid animators in an abusive industry machine, and when that shows, it's just depressing. And it does show here. The first few episodes have a placeholder OP, doubtless, due to production issues. A placeholder OP. We haven't heard of that being a thing since the Persona 5 animation. Shafty Ruby's seams are by no means glaring, but they're visible, and for a studio like Shaft that produced such impeccable works as Madoka and Monogatari and Sangatsu, that's a little bit sad to see. It's inevitable, because there's been a lot of staff changes at Shaft from the people who worked on these shows to the current, fresher and younger animation staff behind Magia Record, Assault Lily, Bishonen Tantedan, Ruby, and Luminous Witches. Growing pains like this are inevitable under these circumstances, and the new talents are clearly terrifically talented, doing amazing work of having to handle a doubtlessly intense demand for both these shows, and doing their very best with what they've been dealt. But still, it's always a bit sad to see changes from what you knew before. It only just kind of hurts further that, like, it's not just anime being anime and the anime industry that sucks. Like, that's every anime. But Ruby is also Ruby. Ruby itself having the painful history it does, of it growing from the passion of Monty Oum to his tragic passing, to Rooster Teeth becoming corporatized and ultimately turning Monty's passion project into their exploitable IP. No matter how good Ice Queendom is, how much better animated or well-told it might be than the main series, it's a little sad, just as much as it's sad to watch volumes 4 through 8 till now, knowing that it's not Monty Oum having fun anymore. It's a thing that needs to be made to make money. Another thing to be outsourced to another animation studio for this country's entertainment market to keep contributing to the abusive capitalist exploitation of underpaid animation workforces in other countries. And yeah, that's the inevitable fate of an intellectual property with a capital I and P under capitalism at least, but in the case of Ruby, it still stings to think about. Even though Monty's passing was before our time in the anime fandom, we retroactively feel that a lot, because Monty's work is also another example of why we watch anime, and, yeah. At the very least, the staff of Ice Queendom apparently have the creative freedom to take the show in a good direction. So, at least it'll probably be good, even if it is all in the service of the IP. It'll be a thing we can watch. Shaft's most prestigious talents also haven't gone anywhere. Obviously, Kaguya is directed by an ex-Shafter. And this season, past Monogatari director Tomoyuki Itamura is helming Call of the Night, an adaptation of Dagashi Kashi author's current work concerning the story of a disillusioned teenager who wants to metaphorically breed with a vampire that likes to rock Dracula cloak over her crop top and cut-off jeans. It's very Monogatari, and also incredibly stylish in a way that echoes Itamura's work on past Shaft works in all the right ways, while also feeling distinct and energetic in a way that's definitely unmistakably, well, yeah, it's good. It's just a good anime so far. It's pretty, it's got some kick-ass music, it's got a lot good going on for it. I can't say yet that it's really good, because it's not finished, but off the 2 episodes we saw so far, I think we can safely recommend it. And our third recommendation today could be Tokyo Mew Mew New, but no, we're not gonna talk about that. It's funny and as appealing to at least 2/6 of the people in this body as it is. We're gonna talk about Licorice Recoil a bit instead. Licorice Recoil is a girls with guns anime, which has a lot of potential and could be a lot of things. But so far, our feeling on it is that it's surprisingly the most excited we've felt about an original anime production in quite a bit of a while. We probably weren't going to pick it up, except someone we follow on Twitter posted a clip of a gunfight scene from the first episode, which we found to be impeccably directed, scored, voice acted, and sound designed, and also just fucking cool. So, the plot of this anime. High school girl soldiers are dispatched to murder criminals, except one of them is morally opposed to murder, so she uses suspiciously violent, non-murder guns. It's also kind of a slice of life series. It could also be a Yuri series, or at least the tagging on one of the sites its broadcast at suggests this possibility, but who knows? It'd be cool if it was, but who knows? The plot's a fair bit nonsensical, but in good ways thus far, though it's a bit ambiguous as if it has anything meaningful to say about the whole child soldier criminal executioner thing. But that's not necessarily bad if it doesn't. So far, the character drama's been pretty effective. The leads, Chisato and Takina, are fun to watch, and their banter is entertaining. Their dynamic looks like it's going to go in a good direction, and everything about it is, like, good and stuff. But the thing that really kind of got us most about it is that it's kind of everything we wanted from Shafty Ruby. Not to say straight away that Ruby is bad and Licorice is good. We don't know that yet. Neither of these shows are finished. It could turn out at the end both are good, or both are bad, or both are just kind of fine. But what we can say for sure is we've seen the first 3 episodes of both shows, and while we liked both, Licorice was just kind of more exciting to watch. Particularly the gunfighting scenes, which strangely feel more like Ruby than Ruby right now. Not to say that Ice Queendom's action scenes aren't good. In fact, Shaft's interpretation of the series' very first proper episode's fight scene is gorgeous, is quite stellar in its own right. But compared to the wild energy of Monty Ohm's choreography and his attention to characterization in these scenes, his ability to tell a story through how these characters move in these fights, it feels tame. It feels like another anime. But Licorice's gunfights are really something else. Chisato's ability to matrix dodge bullets so marvelously and gleefully narratively justified by her just being a really smart person with good eyesight leads to so much good bits like, yes, we are here for Chisato dodging a point-blank pistol shot, like, yes, we are here for Chisato casually sauntering toward her mark as she's hailed upon with an ultimately futile spray of machine gun fire. Yes, we are here for Chisato just casually dispatching a grenade into the hallway toilets. Takina working with Chisato in this scene where she shoots past Chisato to land a hit on their opponent. Takina using this suitcase as a shield in this wild shootout scene, and their unseen escort freaking out because, as would be revealed later, she was, in fact, the package. It's just surprising, but also, I guess in hindsight, not that surprising, that we have more to feel excited about from Licorice than Ruby, the show that we knew nothing about before until we just saw a cool fight scene clip being posted on someone's Twitter just because they liked it. The story is showing promise, the characters are likable, the OP is well directed, and this show just looks really nice in general. It's got good colors, it's got good things generally, like, the character designs, the uniforms and costumes, the music, the sound editing, and the first minute and a half being one of the strongest starts to an anime series we've ever seen. It's really good. I don't know, we're hoping it's good. And even if it's not good, Licorice has renewed some interest in us to go back and try watching other good gun girls anime like Noir and Dirty Parent and Cazador, and hopefully we get to those, and they're good. We're obviously hoping everything is good, and that everyone gets everything they want out of what they're watching this season, or any season, because everyone deserves to enjoy the things they do for fun, and it doesn't matter if your fun is different. It doesn't need to matter to you what happened. It doesn't matter what we do, since we can't do anything about the world out there, the politics that damage the world, the abusive anime industry, the crisis of capitalism, or indeed, whether or not a story is or isn't gay enough for handling sensitive topics right. If an individual creator in question is or isn't an abuser or problematic or maybe just kind of an asshole, they've already been paid what they'll be paid for their work, and we can't change that. The only choice we can make is whether or not any of those conditions preclude us from enjoying it, and if it does, if it won't be fun, then we shouldn't watch it. And, you know, if it really bothers us that much, we can tell our own stories to the people who will listen and care. That's at least the one thing we definitely can do. And that's really about it, isn't it? Just vibe. The hardest and the easiest advice for anyone. Just vibe. Hi everyone, this is Audrey again. First off, sorry this video isn't particularly well edited again, and that I kinda gave up partway through and just started using anime screenshots and game footage. It was taking forever, and I wanted this video to be out this week so that we could move on, so I decided to just half-ass the editing and move on. Partially because I wanted it to be done, partially because I wanted to write and record this addendum to our commentary on the current anime seasons, so that I could half-ass more editing. Yay. Call of the Night has remained quite good. What we said in the script proper has remained true. It's quickly become our favorite anime of this season, with little else contesting it, and also wins points for being one of the most based Monogatari seasons. So, Yeah, it's a great anime, and you should watch it. That's about that there. No notes. Licorice Recoil, on the other hand, has got more complicated. Many critical responses to the first episode raised the question of if the series would have something meaningful or subversive to say about, well, you know, the series' premise being that the peace and security of Tokyo rests on the shoulders of an army of deep state child soldier girls. 7 episodes deep, it appears that it really hasn't. The way that the first minute and a half of the first episode was presented, it appeared to many as if there was going to be some satirical tone taking towards the high school-age girls murdering ostensible terrorists, but thus far, there's not even a hint of such a message being expressed. The only even mildly subversive thing that Licorice has dared to say is that maybe killing is bad, but since Chisato prefers not to kill, and Takina does do killing, but Chisato isn't particularly critical of Takina's preference for extrajudicial killing, and they're still friends and everything regardless. So really the only political statement that I'm able to read here is, these two teenaged child soldiers prefer to fight terrorism differently, I guess. Not much of any meaningful peep about the motive for terrorism or how fighting terrorism is used to justify government violations of civil rights and privacy, or any question of it if such an agency as what is depicted in this anime with the power to hunt down and punish or kill with impunity should have such massive unchecked powers over a nation. Does this supposed safety that is spoken of at the beginning justify such a thing? Obviously, in my opinion, it doesn't. But beyond this first minute and a half, the story doesn't even begin to try to answer those questions. It's basically just a moe buddy cop dramedy with all the non-criticality of the state that implies. The plot so far has basically been cartoon bad guy, cartoon hacker, and a couple of subtextually gay girl cops shooting at them. So it's not deep, and it's not politically radical, but is it entertaining? Sure. If your interest in Licorice Recoil boils down to wanting to watch Lethal Weapon with anime girls, then it's okay. It's got terrific voice acting, nice colors and storyboards, some pretty above-average action sequences, and fun character dynamics. Is it good? Maybe. The show's not over yet at the time of speaking, so there's still a chance for it to show another hand or two, but as yet, I doubt any of those hands will be anything particularly revelatory, and it could definitely get worse. My hope is that Licorice Recoil sticks to what's fun about itself, i.e. the fun character dynamics, the cool gun action, and the cartoon conspiracy nonsense, and that it doesn't try to get polemical at the end. I'm not going to say that it shouldn't attempt to make any sort of seriously political statement, but, well, it would probably be for the best that it didn't, because I think the likelihood of it shooting itself in the foot is pretty high if it does. And if it does, maybe we'll write something else talking about how it sucks at saying whatever it's saying, or maybe we won't, because we won't want to. We'll see. Hopefully, at best, it doesn't say anything particularly radical, but it's fondly remembered for being a good time. But while our enthusiasm for Licorice Recoil has taken a hit, surprisingly for Shafty Ruby, it's gotten a bit of a buff. Its last several episodes have been, if we're being honest, pretty rough on the animation front, with an especially weak 6th episode due to heavy outsourcing. Shaft's biggest talents, like Hiroto Nagata, who animated the brilliant reinterpretation of Volume 1's first fight and contributed some of the most stunning action sequences to Assault Lily, haven't contributed to Ice Queendom since its first few episodes, which one of our mutuals has supposed is because their talents are being saved for some particularly good climactic action. It's also likely they're being stretched thin between Ruby and Luminous Witches, as I've already mentioned. But in spite of this, the storyboarding has been consistently strong, and Shaft's reinterpretation of Remnant is faithful, yet refreshing. It feels properly grounded, both in the sense of consistency within the series and in its own right. Shafty Ruby is a cool show. It really, really is. It's just an unfinished one, and an uneven one. Ice Queendom hasn't quite lived up to Ruby's reputation for engaging action scenes outside of, like, these 2 parts, but it's been developing an interesting story that is worth watching for if you are a fan of Ruby generally, or watched its initial trailers and desired the series implied by those trailers, which there seems to be a consensus that the main series did not deliver. Ruby Ice Queendom is not that series, because as I think we've made clear, that series will never ever exist. And even if Monty Ohm had never passed away, or if he had been handed some mythic full creative control that realistically, no matter what, he was never gonna get, it might have never existed anyways. But despite not being that series, Ice Queendom has made a commendable effort to be something approximating it, and it might just be the closest we'll ever get. Weiss is definitely the most interesting of the Ruby 4, and in our opinion, her trailer is the one that most coherently implies a character arc. Ice Queendom has been largely her story, and the creative choice to set the story within Weiss's psyche is a brilliant choice, both in that it allows Ice Queendom to attempt to capture the surreal and dreamlike vibes of the White trailer, with an aesthetically varied collection of memorable imagery that meaningfully echoes it in a lot of very impactful ways. There's a huge missing piece in Weiss's development in main Ruby with the infamous "I'll be nicer" line, never really getting duly justified, and if you're gonna set out to try and fix that, I can't think of a better way to do it than setting a whole story spin-off inside her shafty brain. Ruby Blake and Yang also all have their due moments of character development. Their relationships are important to the plot, and Team Juniper has a good supporting role, and the writing is just pretty good all around. Like, story-wise, this interpretation of Ruby is something I think you can reasonably say aligns more closely to what the trailers implied. And yes, there's unfinished and bad animation, and we've only gotten a few particularly good action scenes, and the story's had some rough pacing, and so on, but I guess that's just part and parcel when it comes to Ruby. Ruby's always been a bit cursed, and I guess if Shafty Ruby's also a little cursed, then so be it, I guess. Maybe could have had a better impression if it had started in Weiss's brain from the off instead of recapping Volume 1, but whatever, it's just how it go. Still got a few more episodes to go, so maybe I'll be eating my words a second time, but for now, that's where I'm at. Ice Queendom is good, and Ruby in general is actually good. Except for the parts where it's bad, it's good. Rewatching Volume 5 actually sort of cognito hazarded us, and there's a lot of reasons why, so maybe we'll write another vent on that later-ish. Maybe not. Whatever. Let's just go at it, with the patrons who... Bree, Eliza Tantavi, Hikari no Yume, Sally, Scimitar, Zven Lupov, and Tis. And yeah, that's about everybody. Thanks to everybody who's patroned us thus far, and hope y'all are doing good. Now, back to the conclusion, where I said stuff. In the time since the Magical Girl Sight video, we've been working our way through Wonderful Everyday, and it's something that we might make some coverage of later, but not now, not much, because it's a super sexually explicit and violent eroge that would cause YouTube to be angry if we discussed it in too much detail. And also, if you seek it out, I think it's you should know there's a lot of content in it that is designed to shock and disturb, so be aware of that. But I think I just want to close off by saying this thought, just as food, I guess. Wonderful Everyday was recommended and subsequently gifted to us by a fellow system. They told us it was one of the greatest works of art ever, but that they never recommend it to anyone, except us. And we've been reading it, and they've been quite right. Wonderful Every Day is something amazing, something revelatory that we'd probably recommend to no one but us, and I don't know, a friend or two with specific esoteric tastes. We're on the last chapter of it, and we haven't yet finished it. We haven't yet got to finishing it. We're almost scared of it being over. Because it's like, when it's done, we're going to want more of it. And there's other things like it out there, for sure. But only Wonderful Everyday has been Wonderful Everyday, and nothing but Wonderful Everyday. And it's crossed our mind several times while reading Wonderful Everyday. That might be something we actually don't want more of. Maybe we want it to be unique. Maybe we want it to be that special thing that nothing else is to us. Maybe we don't want to read Saya no Ura afterwards. Maybe. Many, many things. But well, no, right? Of course we do. Of course we want to experience more. Of course we want more. Of course we want to try to see all the beauty in everything. Because even if we burn out, that's still the sort of people we are. That's still the sort of people that we'll always be. And just like with Haruhi, we're still going to remember Wonderful Everyday as the thing that showed us why this medium could be special and unique and awesome. We're still going to try our best to remember, as long as we can, why we care. We remember why we care. And if you like anime, if you like video games or manga or Dungeons & Dragons or shoegaze or cooking or K-pop or VTubers or whatever else you like that's good and that's able to keep you occupied, keep you sane for as long as you're here and able to do it, and you need to remember why you care. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to step back, to try to detach from whatever, from the drama of whatever community related to your hobby that you're entrenched within, and maybe find a trusted friend who remembers why. Try to remember why. Remember your first time experiencing this thing you love, when you decided to love it. Remember why it's a part of you, and try to love it again. Try to think of a new reason to love it, if your old reason isn't enough anymore. And just do well. And if you think someone's takes are bad and that makes you feel bad, then just unfollow them. Just leave them alone. Just go away. Let them be. Let them hate the things you love, and hope that that makes them feel happy and special about themselves. If they're not happy, hopefully one day they'll decide they're not happy and that hating other people's favorites and hating other people who hate their favorites isn't a fucking personality. Because, you know, it isn't. Just saying. Yeah. I guess I don't know. I guess I thought I was the detached one here. I guess I felt more than I thought I would. That's a mess. Our brain is a huge mess. We can't explain it, but we don't need to explain it to anyone but ourselves. We'll just have to try. Anyways, if you remember why you care about us in particular, donating to our Patreon would help us quite a lot and we super appreciate it. We're still in a bit of dry spell with things, so can't promise too much too often, but we'll still try our very best. If you're okay with that, and you can, I hope you'll consider supporting us so we can continue to try to remember. And if you can't, clicking the buttons is always a nice gesture. Much appreciated as well. Thanks a lot for listening. From all of us in the joystick system, we hope all of you are very, very well.